$100,000. That number means different things to different people. For some, it sounds impossible. For others, it sounds like just the beginning. But here's what's strange. Very few people who reach it will tell you the journey looked anything like they expected. Not because it was harder, because it was different, psychologically different, and that difference is exactly what most financial content never touches. So let's get into it. The first thing nobody tells you is that the goal itself is the wrong unit of measurement. People fixate on the number, 100,000, whilst like it's a finish line, and that framing quietly becomes a problem. Because when you're at 12,000, 100,000 feels so far away that the brain starts to treat it as almost hypothetical. Something that belongs to other people, other incomes, other lives. The mind doesn't naturally track progress toward distant targets. It tracks momentum. It registers wins and losses in the short term. So the people who actually get there, who cross that threshold and keep going, they stopped measuring against the destination and started measuring against the direction. Are things moving forward this month? Even slightly? That's the signal that matters. Here's something worth sitting with. Two people start saving at the same time with the same income. One tracks their progress against the $100,000 goal. The other tracks whether their saving rate stayed consistent for 90 days. 12 months later, the second person has saved more, not because they're smarter, because they were measuring something their brain could actually respond to. Consistency is a system, motivation is a mood. One of those is reliable, the other isn't. Now here's the part that most people get backwards. When people think about saving $100,000, they immediately think about the earning side. Make more money, get a raise, find a side income. And yes, income matters. But the single biggest variable in how fast you reach any savings milestone is not how much you earn. It's how much of what you earn you actually keep. That sounds obvious. It isn't, not in practice. Because the gap between what people earn and what they keep tends to stay remarkably stable regardless of income level. Someone earning $40,000 a year might save 8% of their income. Someone earning $90,000 a year might also save 8%. The dollar amounts are different, but the pattern is the same. Income went up. The financial gap stayed the same. The number in the account grew, but slower than it should have. Why? Because most people never made a deliberate decision about their saving rate. They just saved whatever was left over after life happened, and life always finds a way to use what's available. The first structural decision, not the first sacrifice, the first decision, is figuring out what percentage of your income is non-negotiable savings. Not a target, a floor. 10%, 15, 20. The specific number matters less than the fact that it's decided in advance, before any spending happens. That single move changes the architecture of the whole process. Let's talk about time, because the math here surprises people. If you save 10% of a $55,000 salary, roughly $460 a month, you reach $100,000 in roughly 18 years, assuming modest growth. That feels slow, and it is. But if you push the saving rate to 20%, around $920 a month, the timeline drops to just under 9 years. Same income, double the rate, half the time. The point isn't that 20% is easy, sometimes it isn't. The point is that the saving rate is a lever. And most people never consciously pull it. They just let it sit wherever it landed. There's another thing nobody tells you, and it's more psychological than financial. The path to $100,000 is not linear, and most people aren't prepared for that. You will save diligently for several months and feel good. Then something will happen, a car repair, a medical bill, a period of lower income, and the account will dip. And here's where most people lose the thread. Not because the setback was catastrophic, because it felt like failure. Because they had been telling themselves a story about steady upward progress and reality interrupted that story. The people who reached the milestone are not the ones who avoided setbacks. They're the ones who kept going anyway, who understood that a temporary dip is not a verdict on the whole journey. There's a difference between a problem and a pattern. 1 month of reduced savings is a problem. 6 months of giving up on the system is a pattern. The mental resilience required here is real, and it's something you build deliberately, not automatically. So what does building it actually look like? Part of it is separating your savings account from your checking account, not just in terms of where the money sits, but in terms of how you think about it. Money you can see in your spending account feels available. Money that requires an active decision to access feels different. The friction is small. The psychological effect is significant. When your savings are sitting right next to your spending money, every purchase is silently competing with your savings balance. That mental overhead is exhausting and ineffective. Move the money automatically before you see it. Let the account it lands in feel like a different category entirely. This isn't a trick. It's an acknowledgement that humans respond to environment, not just intention. Here's something else worth naming directly. $100,000 in savings is not a life-changing number by itself. Not in the dramatic, everything is different sense. What it actually does is quieter and arguably more valuable. It changes your relationship with risk. When you have nothing saved, every financial decision carries existential weight. An unexpected expense doesn't just cost money, it sets you back months. It forces bad decisions. Borrowing at high rates, skipping important spending, making reactive choices under pressure. $100,000 is not freedom in the abstract. It's a buffer that turns potential crises into problems. Problems you can solve without panic, without debt, without losing ground. That psychological shift from financial fragility to financial stability is what makes the milestone meaningful. Not the number itself. It also changes what options become available to you. You can leave a job that's become untenable without a financial emergency driving the decision. You can take a calculated risk on a business, on a move, on a career shift, without betting your entire financial situation on the outcome. Options are expensive. Most people never think about savings as the thing that purchases them. One more thing that rarely comes up in conversations about this. The hardest part of saving $100,000 for most people is the middle. Not the beginning. The beginning has energy behind it. Not the end. The end has momentum and visibility. The middle is where most people quietly give up. You're somewhere around 20 or 30,000. Progress is real, but the goal still feels distant. The initial excitement has faded. Life is full of competing priorities. This is the stretch where the system either holds or it doesn't. And the only thing that makes the system hold is having built it around habits, not enthusiasm. Habits don't require you to feel motivated. They just require the decision to have been made already. The savings transfer goes out on the first of the month, whether you feel inspired or not, whether the month was good or not, whether the goal feels close or impossibly far. It goes out because that's what you decided. Because past, you made a commitment that present you honors. That's the whole mechanism. Not a spreadsheet, not a strategy. A commitment that runs on structure, not on feeling. And while we're here, let's talk about something that gets glossed over in almost every savings conversation. What you do with the money once it's saved. Most people treat savings like a destination. They reach a number, feel good about it, and stop thinking actively about where it sits. But where your savings live matters. A lot. Money sitting in a standard zero interest account is slowly losing purchasing power. Inflation is quiet, but it's consistent. Over 5 or 7 years, the difference between money sitting idle versus sitting in a high-yield savings account is not trivial. You're not expected to be a financial expert. But parking your savings somewhere that at least partially keeps pace with inflation is one of the lowest effort, highest impact moves available to anyone on a regular income. High-yield savings accounts, short-term treasury bills, money market funds, these aren't complicated instruments. They just require one decision and a bit of research. And most people never make that decision because nobody told them the quiet cost of not making it. On $100,000, a 3% annual yield difference over 10 years adds up to roughly $34,000 extra dollars. That's not a small number. That's the equivalent of nearly 3 additional years of saving, at no extra effort. The work you already did shouldn't just sit idle. There's also a mindset shift that tends to happen somewhere on the road to this milestone, one that's genuinely hard to explain until you've experienced it. At some point, saving stops feeling like restriction. It starts feeling like control. Early on, every transfer to the savings account carries a small psychological cost. You're aware of what you're not spending, what you're deferring, what that money could have been used for right now. But after months, and eventually years, of the system running, the transfer becomes emotionally neutral. Not just automatic in the mechanical sense, neutral in the way that brushing your teeth is neutral, just part of how things work. And something else shifts. You stop feeling the low-grade financial anxiety that most people carry around without naming it. Not because you're rich, but because money stopped being this slightly unpredictable force running in the background of your life and became something you understand, direct, and trust. That psychological shift is worth more than the number. The number is just the proof that the shift happened. Here's where everything lands. Saving $100,000 on a regular income is not about being extraordinary. It's not about sacrifice in some dramatic, painful sense. It's about making a few clear decisions about your saving rate, your account structure, your benchmarks, and then protecting those decisions from the daily friction of life. The number is significant, but what it represents is more important. It represents the compounded result of a system that kept running when motivation didn't show up. And the people who build it, the ones working regular jobs, regular hours, regular incomes, they didn't get there by being exceptional. They got there by being consistent when it was inconvenient, by measuring the right things, by refusing to let a temporary setback become a permanent exit. The milestone is real, but the character built in the process of reaching it, that's what actually changes things.